Hey, it's Gregory Bloom, the Beef Pro, and I'm here in Charleston, South Carolina with Chef Marc Collins at Circa 1886. Hey, Marc, tell us about your restaurant and how you became a chef and just a little bit about your store here.
Sure. Well, I became a chef really young. I wanted to be a fighter pilot right off the bat, but then I have to wear glasses, so they said you could sit in the back seat, and I decided, not nearly as fun.
Sure.
So I got into cooking on a whim, and the guy instructor there said, you're pretty good at this. If you stick at it, you'll be fine. And so to me, the rest is sort of history.
Wow.
But speaking of history, we work at a restaurant called Circa 1886, which means the year of 1886. It's also the same year the Wentworth Mansion was built and the great earthquake of Charleston. So those things kind of tie the place together. Our food here is driven definitely by the ingredients and the regionality of them. So the South is a very big influence here, but we also do some international things woven through it. But we've got a really nice dish lined up for you today. That's a corned beef braised short rib. So it has this kind of partial corned beef to it, and then it's braised for about 4 or 5 hours like short ribs are, so you get the best of both worlds. It's served with some mashed potatoes and some flavors that are very similar to a Reuben sandwich. So you get these pickles and a little bit of Guinness gel and then a tomato aioli, basically, a ketchup, so to speak. And they come together really nice. You'll see.
It sounds good. Would you take us in the kitchen and show us how to make that?
Let's do that right now.
Let's go.
Thanks. Kind of going to go through how we make our we basically take short ribs, boneless short ribs, and we corned beef them, and then we'll braise them. So it has the corned beef flavor, but sort of the flavor, texture, and richness of a braised dish as well. So kind of get the best of both worlds. So as this sort of came to us, we basically take a simple brine where we have salt, saltpeter or pink salt. We have crushed red peppers, allspice. We have some clove. Let's see, we have mustard seeds, coriander, black peppercorns, ginger, brown sugar, coriander. So we have all these ingredients, cinnamon and bay leaves, and that basically makes our brine. So we're going to add all these ingredients basically to our pot. And this will be a smaller batch than what we're usually making, but it all works. And then to make this brine, we're going to add some water to it, let all this dissolve, and then we're going to cool it off. And then we're going to soak our short ribs in it for about 6 hours. Any longer, and then it really becomes corned beef flavored to the point where you might as well serve it as corned beef. So that would all go in there. We put our hot water in there, kind of bring it to a light simmer, and then when we're done with that, we just let it cool, or sometimes we'll make it really strong and add ice to it to cool it down faster, and then dilute it. And then they go in the brine. And they sit in the brine for, like I said, for about 6 hours. So it basically changes the properties of the outsides of them too, but it doesn't cook them in too far as the salt cooking goes on the outside of the brine. But we get this really nice, flavorful piece of short rib, and we don't really have to do much to it, but just, once it comes in the door, it's ready to go. We just do that, and then let it sit, like I said, for about 6 hours. Did
you buy it this way, or did you cut that like
we buy the short ribs boneless, ready to go,
right,
and this is how they come in to us. And we leave the fat and everything on them, because once we braise them all, that's going to add flavor and softness to the meat. So really good looking meat. Once it's done from that perspective, then it goes in the oven, and we braise it. Let's see, we're doing some right now here at about 260, and they'll stay in there for about 4 to 5 hours. And then when we're done with that, we let them cool in their juice that we basically make with that. And then we get this piece right here. So this is fully cooked. So it goes from about this size, and then it kind of shrinks down to about this size. But then when that's done, we basically go ahead and portion these by just trimming them straight. And then we'll cut our piece like this, but you'll also notice it has that nice hue through it. Yeah. When it cooks up, the center still has that sort of braised regular beef look, but then the outside gets this nice pink patina in the color. And that gives us that corned beef look on the outside. So, we'd cut them into smaller pieces like this, and then what we're going to do is we're going to Toss them in a little bit of seasoned flour, and then we're just going to sear them in a pan with butter. A little bit of butter and a little bit of oil goes in the pan. We want to kind of pan fry it, not really just sear it, because we're adding the flour to it, so we want that flour to act as a nice coating to it. It's all good. So we're going to let that brown up. And we've added just a nice light coating of flour to it. And once that butter browns just a bit, then we can put it in the pan. Then we'll know it's hot enough to get a nice little brown crust on the outside of it. We just want to let it sit in there until it browns on one side. Then we'll flip it, brown it again until all the sides are completely brown. Then we'll go right into the oven with it. Got a 450 to 500 degree oven, and it will sit there and cook until it's all nice and cooked through it and just completely soften up.
How long do you need to leave it in the oven normally?
Anywhere from, I would say, maybe about 10 minutes. Anywhere 10 to 12 minutes, just depends. So how thickness of it. Sometimes the short ribs come in, they're a little bit thinner, depending on how they're cut off and the size of the animal. So basically this size right here will probably be on the closer to the 12-minute mark.
And does that hold well?
It does hold well, mostly because of the fat content that's in there. The fat helps keep the heat in the beef.
Right.
But we're gonna let that brown up and then we'll be ready to go. I'm getting a little nice color on there. Starting to fry up really nice. And from that, it just goes straight in the oven. We got a nice little crispy short rib on top here and on the bottom. Got a nice color to it. Super soft. So we're ready to go do a plate up. So we talked about our mashed potatoes, so we have a little bit of those in our plate. And then I told you we garnish it with some carrots. So a few of those in there. And then some of the Brussels sprouts. And then here's our ketchup aioli, so it's, like I said, that ketchupy mayonnaise. And then we also have our Guinness gel. We'll do little swirls on those. And then take our sauce, we just make a little reduction with that and the Guinness. Sure, it goes right in there. Garnish the short rib. We got little gherkins because you might find that with your sandwich. So a couple of those on the plate, sliced really thin. And then we make some toasted barley. We garnish that right on top. And that's our dish.